Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Almost Fiction Aftershow. Once again, we're uncut, so it's going to be weird, it's going to be awkward, but let's get down to the case, shall we? So it's important that you've already listened to episode 4 or 5, about Julie Corey, okay, the wonderful lady who stole someone else's baby after she murdered them. So, I want to start out by basically saying that every person knows someone, who was in a very toxic relationship. Whether that was you, or maybe you have a spouse who used to be in one, or you have a boyfriend or girlfriend who used to be in one, or your parents were in one. Like, everyone knows, or you had friends. For me, it was friends, right? So I had a friend in a very toxic relationship. I actually had multiple friends in toxic relationships, but we're just going to talk about one right now. And it's over. They are now married to someone else, have kids, all the fun stuff. So this friend was in a relationship with this girl who was, like, I'm not going to name any names, but, she had her problems, she had her issues, and like, they just were always fighting. It was just breaking up, getting together, breaking up, getting together, breaking up, getting together, cheating on each other. Like, it was just a whole huge thing of, there was just multiple people involved. Like, she tried to hook up with another one of my friends once while they were all hanging out, like, at a cabin. It was just, like, a lot of weird stuff, okay? One time when we were camping, we were out at a lake, and I was kind of in the water, just looking around at stuff, just trying to stay cool. Southern Utah, very hot. And she comes up to me, and I'm like, in the water up to my mid-calf, just kind of chilling. And she goes, "Can I borrow your pocket knife?" And I was like, "Cool, here." So she goes and does something with it, and instead of handing it back to me like a normal person, she just yells, "Here you go," and hucks it. Luckily, she didn't huck it at me because it was still open. She just chucks my knife into the lake and then just starts laughing, thinks it's funny. And then my friend's trying not to upset her, and so he doesn't say anything while I'm like spend the next 45 minutes wandering around the lake, hopefully not stepping on my knife, but trying to find it, which I did. But just stuff like that, right? Where it's just a person is kind of unhinged a little bit for whatever reason, whether it's just because they like the attention or what have you. And I feel like that's what the relationship with Julie Corey and her boyfriend was, Mr. Alex Dion. And I feel like, according to my definition, I feel like Alex was still kind of a kid. He was like 26 years old, mid-20s, but there's a lot of stuff that I did and you probably did and know a lot of people who do in their early to mid-20s that they look back and just go, why? Why did I do that? There's like something about science saying your brain is still forming until you're like in your mid-20s, and I totally believe that. So Julie, though, she's not in her mid-20s. She's in her mid-30s. She is 9 years older than Alex, which is and isn't weird depending on the ages, in my opinion. But like a 34-year-old and a 23-year-old, or however, I can't remember the exact numbers. Like I told you in previous recordings, a lot of details just are gone. But I want to say if she was 39, she was 35. So he would have been 26. So 35 and 26. There we go. So Julie, she's a single mom. She has multiple kids, custody of none of them. She doesn't have custody of a single one of her 5 or 6 kids that she has, okay? She has half custody of one of her kids, which means she has 0 custody of the rest of her kids. So judges, usually, having known people who have dealt with that kind of stuff, judges 9 times out of 10 side with the mom, unless the mom's doing like completely off the wall stuff, which It wouldn't surprise me to hear Julie just being crazy. So she doesn't have custody of her own kids. She doesn't have a job. She's not looking for a job. She's on welfare, which welfare is there for a reason. Some people need it. It's there for when you need it, not there for if you need it, and maybe when you need it, and it's not a permanent solution, which a lot of people think that welfare is a permanent solution. There are permanent disabilities that you might receive things for, but if you're just out of work, like my grandma, that lady was a single mom, multiple kids. She always had at least 3 jobs. At least 3 jobs. Because, like, when there's a will, there's a way, okay? And if you need to be on welfare, go be on welfare. Like, if you're having a hard time eating right now, go get on welfare. But also know that it's not permanent. It does run out, and there are, limitations to it, even though some people have figured out ways around those. But not to be too sidetracked, okay? It is possible, but I don't feel like Julie, just the little bit, there's not a ton of information on this case, but the information that is there, I don't feel like paints Julie, like there's no way to look at her in a good light. And maybe that's by design, maybe, I don't know. Like I'm mostly going off of court records here. So, and court records aren't really good at figuring people's, personalities through. But just the way she was acting, the decision she was making, this person is not a go-getter, I think is something that's safe to say. So Alex Dion, 25-year-old kid, living at his uncle's apartment. That's where they were living when they were together, was at Alex's uncle's apartment. So he doesn't have his own apartment. I don't know if he has his own car. I think he has his own car. Together they had a car. I don't know whose it was, but Alex doesn't have a big boy job. He's still trying to figure things out. Is involved with an older lady, gets her pregnant. They were dating. She got pregnant, miscarried. They broke up. So it's not like, it's just like that toxic relationship that I'm sure we've all had friends that have broken up and gotten back together with the same person like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus times. So she has a miscarriage. They break up. A couple, months later, the court documents aren't super clear. Small time later, she calls him back and says, hey, I don't know if they were messing around in between breaking up or if it was their last time sleeping together, whatever. Julie's pregnant. She claims it's Alex's baby. I'm not going to say whether it is or not. I don't know. Let's just assume it is. So they get back together. Alex is trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be the baby daddy. Well, not be the baby daddy. He's trying to be a dad, right? He wants to have the family. He wants to get back together. So they do. They get back together and they start getting ready. And that's when everything kind of goes weird. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes. And, I'm not going to say she cheated, but compared to what she ended up doing, that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't know. I'm not going to say she wasn't. I'm not going to say she was. So, Julie's pregnant, which she actually was pregnant. Hopefully I made that clear in the episode. Julie was, in fact, pregnant. She went to the hospital with stomach pains. She had a pregnancy test. They told her she was 30 weeks and that the baby appeared to be healthy as far as they could tell. So, that happened. She gets back. So she was pregnant. There's medical records that she did have a positive pregnancy from the hospital. Not just her word of peeing on a stick. So, at the hospital is when she finds out her actual due date. And that's when her story starts to change to match her pregnancy. So she told people, I want to say she told Alex's mom she was 4 months pregnant. And then she goes and has this appointment and comes back and goes, oh, I'm 8 months pregnant. Math. So then she gives a due date even. Okay. It's early, sometime in June. She says, this is my due date. Well, that day comes and goes. And then she goes, oh, it's a week later, got pushed back a week. That day comes and goes. Oh, it's 2 days. That day comes and goes. It's towards the end of June. Next thing you know, she says, oh, July 4th. July 4th. It's July 5th, and Alex goes, is this baby still a thing? Or she goes, yeah, July 24th, because that's a thing. Like, due date's moving almost a month from the original due date. Like, yeah, they might move up a month because premature babies happen, but I've never heard of a baby just chilling for an extra month. Maybe it has. I'm not a woman. I don't know. I don't have kids. I don't know. So they're back together. Julie's date keeps changing, and Alex's mom is like, she has had a baby before, at least one that we know of, named Alex. So she's like, this doesn't make sense, and she's about ready to call when she finds out that Julie had the baby. So Julie does that thing that we know she did if you listen to the episode. Sorry, my nose, tip of my nose right here. It's very itchy. Hopefully there's no boogers there or nothing. So, I just don't know. I don't know why people didn't ask questions. More direct questions. Is Julie, mean? Were they trying, is she, one of those people that flies off the handle easily? Does she make, is Alex's family afraid that by causing contention that she'll make Alex's life harder? I don't know. Nobody puts this lady in her place, though. Nobody's like, hey, why is your birth, why did you say you were 4 months pregnant, but you were really 8 months pregnant? And why is your due date going past, way past 9 months, and you're saying how you were scheduled for C-sections that didn't happen, and that you were bumped off the C-section list, that's a thing. And then they forgot to reschedule her once again. That's a thing for, when you're ready to have a baby? No. Jeez, my nose. So then Julie, out of nowhere, has a little baby, and then all the questions disappear for, 3 days. Because Julie, we don't know what happened. Nobody's confessed. There's nothing other than, what was presented in court and what the jury. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with what the jury thought happened based on the evidence provided. That Julie murdered a neighbor, basically, and took her baby. Cut this woman's baby out of her stomach. So, there's things that, she tried to say it was someone else. In the trial, she tries to blame Darlene Haynes, is the woman's name. She tries to blame Darlene's boyfriend. He's an ex. It's the father of Darlene's baby. She had a restraining order against the guy. Not a good guy. Multiple, he fit the bill as, if somebody were to just say, hey, who do you think did it? And I was looking at it from, a crow's perspective or a Hawkeye view or whatever. I'm looking down and I go, it's probably her boyfriend, because he has a lot of, criminal charges for assault, especially against his girlfriends. He has a lot of anger issues, a lot of problems with the police. But the story that Julie gave about him possibly doing it just doesn't make sense, because she went out and hung out with Darlene, something she never did. Alex said she's never done that before. Yes, we knew who Darlene Haynes was because she lived in our apartment complex. That was it. It's kind of a lot of you probably have neighbors that you're you probably don't even know their name, or their first name, or maybe just their last name, or know what unit they're in, but that never went farther than maybe nodding at them kind of a relationship. And so it's weird that she goes and hangs out with this person for the first time ever, that she's hanging out with Darlene. It's the night she dies. Weird. Darlene's baby disappears and Julie ends up with it. Weird. But Julie wants us to believe that, no, I didn't kill her. Her boyfriend Tito did, and I just happened to be walking in the right area or just hanging out with her. So you were there, you were hanging out with her, but you said you left. She said she left for a little bit and then came back and then was handed a baby. Because that happens all the time, I guess, in some places. So, it just doesn't make sense. She was with Darlene, then leaves, then goes back and gets a free baby. just happened to be on the same day that she claimed to go to the hospital and was lying about going to the hospital and having a C-section. Like, everything just seems to be too coincidental at that point, right? Like, nothing is that coincidental. So she lied about where she was, what she was doing. She went out of her way to go see a victim she didn't know, claiming she was just a passerby. Like, we know she was there. We know she was with Darlene when Darlene was alive. We know that she had Darlene's phone after the fact. We know that she had Darlene's baby after the fact. I mean, just the same thing. Nobody was asking these questions for like a week. Like, why is your newborn baby covered in blood? Like, you remember that from the show? Everyone shows up for like an impromptu baby shower, and they're passing around this baby who's still got blood in all of her folds, like back of her neck, behind her ears, like in her ear folds. Like, I haven't had kids, but I also think that like your baby will probably have at least one decent bath before getting sent home. I would hope so, especially because it's where they've been. But this baby's covered in dried blood. The baby's having problems, because guess what happens when the baby isn't checked out by anyone or anything? Like, home births, cool. Guess what's usually there? A midwife. Guess what she knows how to do? I don't know. Bathe a baby. Make sure everything's, kosher before just handing it off. Like, and she was at the hospital. Like, yeah, she did say that the hospital staff was horrible, but I don't think that the most horrible hospital staff in the world is going to be so bad that you just grab your baby right after a C-section and then you just leave. Like, I know people have had C-sections. They don't just leave. Like, they don't just grab their baby and walk out of the hospital without anyone with them. Let's remember that. She was by herself the whole time. Like, that doesn't happen. Those questions weren't asked by the family who was holding the baby. Like, you have to know something's weird. Like, see something, say something. You have to know something's weird. You have to. Like, I can't imagine knowing someone was pregnant, knowing they went over a month, and then seeing their baby, like, because there was reports that the baby was, like, cold extremities. The baby was not doing well. Like, she ended up having to take the baby to the doctor, and that's when the doctor wanted to take pictures of it, because the doctor was probably asking the questions everyone else should have been asking, and he was just wanted to document it, which I probably could have been better at saying, but I feel like the doctor wanted to document it and then have a picture to be like, hey, this lady came in with this baby, and I don't know what the heck to believe anymore. Like, something needs to happen. So, luckily, though, it just shouldn't have gone as far as it did. Like, they should have, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not a police officer. I'm not anything special, but just, like, ask questions. If something's weird, especially when a baby's involved, just ask questions. Like, it's better to be safe than sorry. And I know that sometimes that can lead to very uncomfortable situations. I personally have friends who have mixed race children. So it's like when they're out in public and mom's not there or dad's not there, you see, like, basically either you see a white person with a bunch of brown kids. Like, just, I mean, if there's, I don't know, like, it's hard because it's like families come in all shapes and sizes, but at the same time, like, it's important to watch out for those who can't watch out for themselves. And nobody was really watching out for this baby until her dead mother was found, until her deceased mother was found. Nobody really looked out for her, asked the questions, like, what's going on? And, like, there's a million excuses. Alex was young. The mom didn't want to push button. Like, it's just, like, there's so many excuses. And, I'm probably wrong for thinking this way, but that's how I feel. And once again, this is my opinions. That's what this whole show's about. So, and it's just like, and I've purposefully just kind of continually, glided right over the big elephant in the room, which is that a baby was literally ripped from her mother's womb, and the mother did not survive. She was beaten about the head and neck. She was strangled with an electrical cord, and then her baby was cut out of her stomach. Like, that is very graphic and visceral and all of the things, and it's just horrible. Like, which is why I didn't go into any detail in this, and especially because like it's a baby. Like, the baby didn't choose to come into the world that way, and like I said at the end of the episode, I have no idea what happened to that poor little baby, and by design partially, because I think that baby, if the baby survived, which I'm pretty sure it did, so there's that silver lining, but that's her story to tell. Like, I don't feel comfortable like trying to find what happened, who she ended up with. It's not important, because I mean, she didn't have any choice in this. I mean, and knowing what happened to her isn't going to help anyone else, right? Sometimes, like, I like to feel like learning about some of these cases, you are looking for things and patterns that you can avoid yourself in the future with people, with monsters, basically. But nothing like learning about this baby isn't going to help anybody. And so it's there. They can come out. They can talk about it if they want. And, you know, the same could probably be said about victims, but I feel like in their story, there's knowledge, and with knowledge comes power, right? There's things that we can, you know, learn from each one of these cases from the victim standpoint of, you know, maybe to make sure that we're just ready for anything, right? Like, if some lady that you don't know wants to hang out with you, like, don't just go hang out with her by yourself. Like, go hang out with her if she's lonely or whatever, or he or whatever, like, whoever it is. Like, there's ways to do things safely, and we can learn from these cases, but I hope that this poor child gets every lucky bounce for the rest of her life, because she deserves it. Sorry. Part emotion, part burping. Sorry. But I know this one's short. Maybe, I don't know how long I've been rambling on. But that's the Julie Corey case. That's my opinions on it. I just wish people would have asked more questions. I wish people would not stay in toxic relationships. If you are in a toxic relationship, there are resources for you. Even if you have no friends, no family, there are resources for you. There are phone numbers for you to call. I will hopefully remember to post a number in the description if YouTube will let me. But I think you'd be surprised that even if I know some people feel cut off from their family because of their abusive spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever they are to you. But I think you'd be surprised at how quickly your family will come back to you when you tell them you need help getting away. Getting out of a relationship is hard. I know people very closely who are in abusive relationships, and a lot of it, like, they didn't realize how bad it was until they were out. They didn't realize how unnormal it was until they were with someone who treated them the way they should be treated. They didn't realize, you know, how bad it was because it just was their normal, became their normal. So if that's your normal, do something for yourself. If you have kids, do it for your kids. And I'm trying to tear apart relationships, but you know when you're in an abusive relationship, and like, if you're not happy, at least sometimes, then you're probably in an abusive relationship. Just please get help. There are resources. There are people who are ready to help. There are, you know, private. If you have a problem with a man who is all, you know, abusing you, there are women's groups designed and ran by women, so you don't even have to talk to dudes. You don't even have to deal with that. Okay? Same thing the other way around. Okay? Like, there are guys out there who are in abusive relationships. That's a thing. The statistics aren't as high, but same thing for you dudes out there if you're listening. get help. Like, ask questions. And I don't, like, in this case, Julie wasn't, I don't think she was physically abusive. There was no signs of that. It was all the emotional stuff, right? Which is just as bad. And I think the emotional stuff is harder because it takes longer to heal, and if it ever heals. So please, no matter who you are, how you look, whatever, love yourself and want better for yourself. And this turned into a weird TED Talk. I know I'm not the person to be giving advice because I'm not, I'm just a dumb podcaster. So I just want one last call. Just get the help you need. So, it is December 16th today, and this will probably be the last episode that I'm going to do before New Year's. So enjoy Christmas, enjoy New Year's. I will be back beginning of January, and we're going to have more content. I'm trying to be better at interacting. I'm trying to do better with posting on the Facebooks and posting on YouTube and posting on Patreon and posting on everywhere else. So like, subscribe, tell your friends, and listen to the next episode. Also, gonna pitch my other podcast, Tethers. If you like mysteries, if you like paranormal, if you like urban legends, if you like aliens, UFOs, all that stuff, go check out Tethers. It's serialized. The first season is bingeable. Season 2 is underway. Just go check it out. And I appreciate you. You can do it. You can get the help you need because you're awesome. I have faith in you. And if you don't need help, I still love you guys too. If you don't need help, I still love y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy, I'm sorry, I don't know a lot of these things. Happy whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. If you don't celebrate, don't celebrate. Do whatever you want. I don't care.